Right, everybody. Hope you all having a great day. Now, this is a little bit of a special treat. I got Zach at the dish and Eric Borba, father of Casey Borba, with me, longtime California coach. How are y'all doing, fellas?
Doing great. Happy to be here.
Yeah, doing good.
Yeah, hey, this baseball season is looking like a fun one coming up here for Texas. Last year you had Jim Schlossnagle. Yeah, there was kind of mixed feelings on what was going to happen coming in. You almost lot of unknown. How well the team will do in year one, and you saw that represented with the 19th ranking entering the year, and really they climbed their way up to the top all the way through that A&M series, and then kind of they started to kind of almost run out of gas after the A&M series. But I think something that they really addressed with coming in here is with the freshman edition and also the portal additions that they had is, man, this bullpen shouldn't be running out of gas anytime soon. What are y'all thinking?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing last season was, you had so many arms, but it was that kind of core group that they really had to rely on. And, with the loss of Jared Spencer, that is, they had to start shifting things around. And it's not that those guys couldn't perform, but that starts taking a toll on you when you're not in your normal routine and when you're kind of having to adjust. And at the same time, as the season goes on, all those coaches, all the analytics guys are going to get the book on you, right? And so then you have to start tinkering and adjusting. And I don't know that they ran out of steam necessarily. It's just they didn't have that extra little bit at the end. And so that's the way life goes with pitching in the SEC.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think when you have your Friday night guy go down, everything changes, right? You take Ruger and have to put him, as a Friday night guy, which I thought he did well, but it takes everybody and puts them, in uncomfortable situations at the end of the year. I think we started at Ethan Walker against Tennessee in the SEC game, and he pitched tremendously. But we started Hudson Hamilton in the last game of the year. These are guys that just hadn't been in those roles very often. And you're talking about at the biggest stages there are and the most important and crucial times. It's tough to, be comfortable in uncomfortable situations that you haven't been in. And I think that's kind of what we ran into. And I think looking at this year's team, the pitching is unbelievable. I think just the depth, these freshman guys, I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit more, but it's pretty impressive what I've seen so far. And the additions, obviously, like you said, through the transfer portal. The thing I like most about this team is I think just in looking at them through two scrimmages and haven't seen very much, but I just think the amount of quality at bats is going to go up tremendously. I think the strikeout is going to be lessened, which seemed to kill us at a lot of times last year. And I just think it gives a lot more flexibility to the lineup. They can do a lot of different things. I keep seeing, and, we even saw a couple bunt attempts this weekend, but I think it gives Schloss and Tula just the ability to do a lot of different things offensively. And I don't think we lost too much in the speed category. There's some guys that can really run. So I just think we're going to be much more dynamic on offense. And I think there's going to be a lot more, depth to the bullpen.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned kind of right after we lost Jared Spencer too, kind of something that's almost lost in the shuffle. Right as we have to have Ruger Riojas go bump up, is he goes and gets the flu and he drops like 10, 15 pounds. Right. So it was just a lot of things going on at once for us. But you mentioned kind of these portal additions. I mean, Jim Schlossnagle, they went out and hammered the portal. Now we did lose Jack Marnick and Caleb Freeman, and then some other pitchers to the draft. Really, those are guys that they could they definitely would be difference makers on this roster still. But I mean, you got like guys like not people want to call him Timo. I did too, but it's Temo Becerra. He looks like he's playing third base right now, and hey, there was a scorcher hit at him the other day, and he to even get a glove on that thing and then stick with the ball. I thought that was a really impressive play. You got Aiden Robbins, who looks like he's just an absolute stud out there in the outfield. Ashton Larson coming in from LSU. He was a rookie SEC player, SEC freshman of the year. Is that right, Zach?
He was one of the SEC freshmen of the year.
Yeah, SEC freshman of the year. And then you got Josh Livingston and then Callum Early. This is adding Hayden LeFew. And then obviously you got Carson Tenney back there behind home plate. That dude, you saw his like kind of power start to really show itself with a really loud out. But I mean, this is a really fun group of transfers, and not to forget about Andrew Armis down there.
Yeah, I think when you look at the transfer group, obviously Carson Tenney's the name that jumps off right off the bat, right? That guy has the potential to be top 20, top 15, round 1 of the MLB draft next summer, and he showed it, right? Like he probably struggled more than people thought he would on the Cape, including himself, and he talked about that before fall ball started. He said, "Look, I didn't have the performance that I wanted, but." He goes, sometimes, you learn a lot more from kind of failing or, not doing the expectation that you think you're going to. And so he took a lot from that. And, his first at bat in Round Rock, he had 110 off the bat. I mean, just a missile to the left side. And that's who he is, right? Like he's not always going to have to tap into his power, which I think is a good thing. I think Tulo's going to have a big influence on that, helping him realize, hey, against this pitcher, I don't want to get too pull heavier. I don't want to get under the ball. I want to stay on it and stay level through the zone. So yeah, he's going to be a huge piece. I think the one aspect of that though, is they don't want to use him in the same role that they had Galvan last year, where it was every single day, every single inning. So you're going to get opportunities to see Presley Corville, who was one of the most athletic catchers in the nation. I mean, he put up a blistering 60 time down in Houston at one of the scouting events. I think it was the Texas State Scouting Association event.
Freshman Presley Corville, that dude. I was sitting next to Eric when he threw out the guy from like home plate, and it's just like I was talking with Eric about this. Catcher's one of those positions where you rep so much on, hey, you get your hand to a certain spot, like you have your mechanics right, and you want to stick to those things. But it's like Eric said, at the end of the day, just get the out, right? Just get the thing done. And I mean, he catches the ball and throws from a really low. It looks like a just classic submarine pitcher, right? And nails the guy out at second base. I mean, like I just, and then also he's putting some good contact on the baseball at the plate. I mean, this is a guy that looks like not only like getting some legit innings this year, but man, this is a guy that I think that Texas can hang their hat on after we see Carson Tenney move on to the greener pastures.
Yeah. And then you mentioned Temo. I mean, he granted played shortstop all last year at Stanford, but he played the year before at Stanford all at third base. So he's got a lot of experience on the left side. He's just a steady hand, right? He's not going to excite everyone with his bat. He's not going to be real flashy, but he's going to bring consistency. He's going to bring a guy that he doesn't strike out a lot and put the ball in motion. And then you talked about the offense. I think this team is a little more versatile than last year, where last year it was very reliant upon Galvan power, Borba power, Galvan or Baloo's power, right? This one's going to be more hit and run, steal, move them over. So you're going to see a little more splash on the bases, if you will, from this year's squad for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the with these transfers too, the combination of right left gives some versatility to that lineup too. You don't have to. Last year we saw 5, 6, 7 right-handed hitters in a row at times, and the balance. Adding Livingston and Larson as left-handed hitters, and then you got Pack in there recently as a left-handed bat. Obviously, it gives us that versatility, so you can give different looks to the opponent and do a lot of different things that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's if you were to put this lineup as like a 3 deep, it's just really the names would be everywhere. It'll almost look like that little meme from It's Sunny in Philadelphia, where Charlie, he's got all the dots connected from everywhere. Like, I mean, and that's honestly one of the most dangerous things about this roster is the versatility. But you can honestly see a little bit of that in the pitching chart too. Like Dylan Volantis is kind of like the most intriguing one. It's like, hey, do you even want to take him out? Because Texas is in a spot where you got like a guy like Hayden LeFew, who he might be able to give us some starts. And do we even want Dylan Volantis to move into a starting role? Do we just keep him what he was doing really doing great last year?
Yeah,
I think. Go ahead, Eric.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it'll be interesting how it all plays out. Like I said a little bit earlier, these freshmen that came in. I mean, obviously the maturity and pitching in the SEC right away is going to be a question, but whether Dylan moves to the starting rotation or stays as a closer, you could do so many different things. Ruger, we saw both out of the bullpen and starting last year. There's a lot. I think, seeing Hayden LeFew, from the left side and having that left-handed guy on the weekend is huge. Obviously, he's struggled a little bit with command in the 2 outings that he's had this fall, but he's pitching, for one of the best teams in the country, making a move and being comfortable with, everything going on around him isn't easy. I mean, I think his track record and of what he's done in the past shows that he's a strike thrower, and I'm not too worried about that. But some of these freshmen, I think we brought in 3 or 4 right-handed freshmen that were all 94 to 96 miles an hour that showed pretty clean innings and multiple pitches. It was pretty impressive. So those guys are probably going to push too. But I think when you have the depth that we have, it's just going to push everybody to be better. So it's exciting.
I mean, you got these freshmen coming with the velo and movement. It's like over the last 3 to 4 years, these are guys that would have instantly like, hey, yeah, we will take you. We were starting Jared Thomas out there on the mound.
Yeah. The other one that we don't even talk about as a starter, I don't know if you guys have, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Thomas Burns pitch in a starting rotation. I mean, he was a Friday night guy at Arizona State a couple of years ago, and he showed the ability to keep the velo and pitch deeper into games. I mean, that's somebody that we don't typically talk about as going to the rotation, but could you imagine him in that role? Just again,
and all last year, like that was kind of that really felt like it was the plan all last year, going for Jim Schlossnagle. Like they were asked about it early on. Hey, what's your plan for Burns? And it kind of felt like, hey, we want to get him more innings, and then get him into that starting role because, I mean, like 99 to 100, that's just dangerous. And then also, when you got 99 to 100, 60 pitches in, right? That's really dangerous. And I was just – it still blows my mind that he's out there throwing 90-mile-an-hour sliders. And it's just like that. That's just like – it's like, hey, yeah, here's probably 90% of college baseball players' best pitch, like fastest pitch that they can throw. And then let me just add on 12 inches of, horizontal movement.
Yeah, I think the guy that I was maybe most impressed with from year over year, and I know they're in the same calendar year, but from what I saw end of last year to what I saw this fall so far in a couple of different scrimmages, including against Lamar, was Jason Flores, right? Like he can hit 96, 97. He can stay there. Last year, when he started creeping up in the velo, that's really when his body started coming open. He started losing a little bit of the command. He's looked really, really sharp in all of his outings. And I think even more so than Thomas Burns, I think Flores is a guy that you have to watch out. Like if the rotation is not going to be all lefties, Vlantis, Harris, and LeFew, I got to think that Flores has got to be right there as one of the guys that can be a weekend rotation guy. I mean, you roll out Flores with that heavy cement ball of a sinker, pairs it up with his fastball, and then he can bring in the slider. It's dangerous. And, for Vlantis, it's all about progression, right? They're going to give him every opportunity to win the job. They're going to give him the opportunity to go start. And if it's not working out, you still know what he can do on the back end. But when you have guys like Grubbs and Riojas, Burns, you have guy like Ewok, right? Like you don't have to kind of force him into any role, or anyone for that matter. Like you can rotate so much. It's such a versatile lineup. And I think that's what's really dangerous. So,
yeah, I probably my favorite pitcher on this roster is Max Grubbs. Just like the absolute mentality, like that dude's got some stones on him, right? I've seen him walk into some situations that like we'll have some dude's head spinning, and he's strutting off the mound two batters later, and it's just like he's probably I say this all the time. He really was a guy that I think our fans really underappreciated their like year one. He was kind of caught in a lot of that mess of the pitching staff the last year, David Pierce. But man, like I mean, what you saw to him was he was really forced in that starting role where he would give you a lot of good stuff early on, and then later in games he would just get touched up a little bit, right? And it just makes his ERA look a lot worse than it actually is. I mean, this dude in this role that he was in last year, this felt like a perfect role where, hey, like if no matter what time of the game, we need somebody to like just go and like if we need something to stop right now, right? So we can stay in the game. Like Grubbs is that guy that you call.
Yeah, as a coach, the most important things are reliability and consistency. And I mean, he's his picture's next to those two words in a coach's dictionary. He can do so many different things, whether it's, start, come early and go long out of the pen, or close a game. I mean, it's just a nice luxury to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So here's my question: Is do we need to be worried about Cade Bing cracking the center field depth chart out there? Because he looked pretty good out there versus Texas Tech.
He has played there due to in inner squads, just dude, and so has Ruger for that matter. They played center field just for defensive purposes. But they have not taken a single at bat this season. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So I don't think you have to worry too much.
Yeah, it's the new rosters as you move forward. I think you're going to see more and more of that, where you have to have guys, able to do it just in case you have injuries, and somewhere there's a time where you got to have those guys and getting those reps. I think in the fall, especially right now, you look, with Jonah playing football, and I know a couple of the outfielders are banged up a little bit. So it's a great opportunity to get those guys, in there just in case you get an emergency situation. I mean, you have to prepare for the unexpected, right? So having them out there a little bit, but I think, like Zach said, I don't think they've taken any batting practice or any swings at all. So I doubt that we'll see them in there, other than maybe if there's a defensive replacement somewhere, just because we've used all of our, bench guys in a 20-inning game or something potentially, but I doubt you're ever going to see it.
It was fun watching the bullpen react to him, getting a little fly ball there too. That's always fun. That is one thing that I've been kind of seeing with this bullpen, especially during. I don't know if they're going to be this loose during games, but dude, they're out there having a party, man. Like they're like your typical pitchers only, right? Like dude's got position players got to be sitting there going like damn POs. Sitting over there having fun, like they're like the punters and the kickers, during practice while everybody else is going through the crap. You hear those guys, just busting a gut, laughing, having a rave over there.
Yeah, I think you hear a lot about Max Wiener being as good as he is as a pitching coach, breaking down mechanics, getting the most out of what guys have, and that's all awesome stuff. But the thing that's been most impressive to me as a parent and a coach, is the fraternity that he's created with those pitchers. They all pull for each other. I was fortunate enough to go to a couple scrimmages last year in the offseason, just inner squads. And, I don't know if they do it all the time, but the couple that I was at, they had the pitchers all in one dugout and the hitters all in another dugout. And they're all pulling for each other. It wasn't like it was a orange versus gray game. It was a pitchers versus hitters competition, and they push each other to be better. And I think that's a pretty special, just environment that he's created with those guys.
Yeah. So moving on to some of the returning players that we got. I mean, one guy that he looked borderline unfamiliar was Ethan Mendoza. I mean, good Lord, that dude is jacked now. And you can see the ball flying off his bat. That's not just some dude that's going to go and get some contact and every now and then run into a ball. Like he's pounding he looks like he's been pounding the ball. And from everything that I've heard, I mean, in a world where home runs are accidents, he might run to quite a few accidents this year.
Yeah, hey, you're talking about a guy that could, make a push for a Golden Spikes type award, playing the middle infield, and if he increases the power a little bit, obviously he's shown just a tremendous maturity at the plate and his ability to hit the ball to all fields already. Now putting on, probably 20 pounds of muscle, you're talking about a completely different player with another, skill set that he didn't have last year. So that's been fun to watch.
It's also too just his baseball IQ, that his awareness at all times is an all-time high. He does all the things that a lot of guys are embarrassed to do, right? How as a coach you want your guys to check second, they get on second base, immediately check the outfielders, right? And sometimes a lot of guys do it at that level, at the college level, right? But every now and then you'll run to a guy that I'm too cool to do the little thing, or I'm too cool to do it. Every little thing that you could think of, Ethan Mendoza is doing. I mean, it really is. It's fun to watch his baseball IQ on display when he's out there on defense and on offense.
Yeah, he's almost like the Max Grubbs of the offensive side. Can do anything. I mean, he's obviously tremendous in the leadoff spot. We saw him do it so much over the last year. But if he needed to be a middle of the order guy to drive in runs, he can do that too. Ultimate flexibility, and yeah, like I said, it's just gonna be fun to watch him. He's put in a lot of work.
I think that's what's unique about this team in some ways too. Is if you look at A-Rod at shortstop, you look at Ethan at second base. This is not your typical maybe lineup middle of the infield lineup that you see from Texas, right? Like they've typically had very flashy players at shortstop that are ultra talented at defense, and then second base has always been, hey, we got to stick this guy in there, but he's that ultimate utility guy. And with Ethan and Adrian, you kind of raise the level and offensively and defensively in terms of what they can do. And the thing I love about both of them is they just love to be on the field, right? Like there's not two guys out there that love to compete more than them. And they're always they're there. They're steady. They're wanting to have fun. They're wanting to get dirty. And that makes a difference, especially when you've got a team that's starting to kind of really shift over from last year where you had a pretty set infield coming into the season. So,
yeah, I mean, really, you could see Adrian Rodriguez, especially towards the end of the year, he was still dealing with that hand injury, and you could tell like he was fighting through a lot of pain just to be able to get on just be able to stay out there and swing the bat. Like, I mean, he'd take one rip, and he would just be like have to take his 8 seconds out of the box to just sit there and grimace for a second, get himself in a headspace to go back in and take another rip, right, and just sign up for that same pain again and again. That like I couldn't be more impressed with that guy. Like, and also like he's obviously a guy that has aspirations to go play on the right side of the infield at the next level. But man,
the left side,
or left side, yeah. But he just really signed up for that. Whatever you need me to do, coach, I'm going to do it. Get me on the field, right? Like, if you need me to play left field, screw it. I'll go out there and I'll go play left field. And also, I'll give you everything I got out there, right? Like that. He made some really clutch plays versus Texas A&M in that game to really secure the sweep, offensively and defensively. And honestly, had he not been hurt, this is a guy that would have been right up there for a Freshman of the Year award in the SEC.
Yeah, no question. He's dynamic. I mean, he's obviously one of the best players in the country, and yeah, the changes that he's made to play the middle, I think we all kind of question where he was going to be this year, but just seeing the physical changes he's made too, to be able to show everybody that he can play shortstop and go out and do it. You're talking about moving a guy that was an everyday shortstop at Stanford, and he's kind of won that job over him. Not that Temo's couldn't do it too, but as of right now, it looks like A-Rod's got that nod at short, and it's just been really impressive to see him. And like you mentioned, yeah, him moving to left field last year without probably having done that in a long time, he did make some great plays out there. And the hand obviously is a question. He had to spend the last half, 3/4 of the year last year hitting left-handed. Now he's back, and again, adding that versatility to the lineup, being able to go from both sides of the plate. I think that's going to be fun to watch too.
And another guy that I think is really
kids that are told like you have to go do this in order to play this position because they say I want to be shortstop. And some of those kids, okay, yeah, like I'll go, work on this. And like they put some work in, obviously, but not to the extent that he did. I mean, he really drilled down. He didn't hit for most of the summer, and so the fact that he's already back up and hitting as well as I've seen him hit in the inner squads and in the scrimmages, it says a lot about the kid just in terms of toughness. And obviously, you talked about that, Nash, just what he was able to do grinding through the pain last year, which was a bit crazy, but
it's a lot of pain. Like, I mean, like, especially when you talk about the hand, that's a part of the body that'll break a lot of people, and they'll just say, no, I'm good. I'm going to wait till, and that also shows you a lot about what Max Blue did to be able to get back in time. Like,
yeah,
a lot of selfless guys, and it doesn't hurt for Adrian Rodriguez to be learning from Troy Tulowitzki over there at shortstop. But another guy that's really showing some selflessness right now is Casey Borba. I mean, man, you want to talk about a guy that he's been sitting over there at third base, like that's kind of his spot. And then hey, now that we got Adrian moving over there to shortstop, now we got Temo over there. He's got a ridiculous arm, right? We got to find a spot for you, Casey, and he's moving over to first base. And I mean, from everything that I've talked about with Coach Borba over here, man, Casey's got everything. He's done everything right mentally, and then also, it did suck to go out there to the Dell Diamond, and he puts one into the power alley, 404 feet. Like, I mean, like that. he was tattooing some balls, but just a lot of loud outs there. But he's a guy that I think that we're really going to be relying on his power this year.
Yeah, I think the big thing that for me, for Casey at least, is again, coaches talked to him in the offseason or end of the season and said, hey, this is what we need you to go focus on. He could have gone to the Cape. He could have gone and spent his summer not having fun, but I mean having fun and getting that experience again. But instead he dedicated himself to changing his body, working on his craft. And I think it also says a lot about the coach's trust in him to put him at first base. I mean, Coach Schlossnagle continues to say that Kimball's the best first baseman defensively he's ever had. Well, that's big shoes to fill in because it's an underrated position, and their trust in Casey's glove to go stick over there. It says a lot. So,
yeah, Kimball's unreal defensive at first base. But I mean, like I think back to last year, Casey Borba. I mean, we had talked about it a lot at standing out there in left field, Eric. But I mean, Casey, this is a guy that's a lot more known for his bat, right? And last year, I mean, his bat probably doesn't live up to what the expectations were for internally, but man, that glove was there. I mean, like if you go and you actually look at the fielding percentage numbers, that was it was up there with some nearly Skylar Messenger level like play at third base. Like it was top some of the best third base play that we've seen uh, at Texas. I mean, so I don't think he necessarily got as much love as he should have defensively over there. But man, I got a lot of faith in him to go out there and be a great defensive player at first base.
Well, and defensively, they have to be good on the infield because last year's staff, especially, right, their strikeout rate was not high at all. Their strikeout ratios, they were giving up contact, and so there was a lot of action on the infield, specifically on that left side. So yeah, he got a lot of playing time and a lot of reps.
Well, and
Yeah,
going from
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say going from one hot corner to another. I mean, like if you're gonna put somebody at first base, I mean, honestly, the first two positions that I think about if I'm going to steal somebody is I'm going to try and steal from catcher or third base because those are the guys that there's a lot of bang bang plays or it's just a lot of things are happening real fast.
Right. Well, thank you all for the nice comments. Obviously, as his dad, it's not easy to sit and talk, but I'm most proud of him. I think, again, we're in a day and age where kids jump in the portal and where kids have to play a certain position, and I'll be honest, at his exit meeting last year, the coaches told him, hey, we want you back, but you got to be willing to potentially move over to first, maybe DH, maybe even play a little second base. Well, you just have to have more versatility. And so when he came home and discussed his conversation with me, with Coach Sloss, as a parent, it's my job to lay out all the possibilities for him, and I said, hey, if you want to play third base and ensure you're going to play third base, do you want to think about going in the portal? Not that I wanted him to, but I wanted him to think of that. Now, obviously, he's a young man. And I said, Dad, I just want to wear this uniform. I don't care where they play me if I'm in the lineup. I just want to be able to hit. And so, and even now, he's playing first base every day. And I'll ask once in a while, hey, are you getting any ground balls at third? And he puts in some time, outside of practice with Tulo and getting some extra work over there. But, he's willing to do whatever it takes. And I think that's something that we don't see a lot in today's game. And I think it's a tribute to what the coaches do and how much he knows he's developing and growing there and how much he believes in this team and having a chance to go out and play in Omaha is his goal. So whatever it takes. And those are the kind of guys that you need on the team.
And ultimately something that you said in there is I think the reason why the team did so well last year in such a short time under Jim Schlossnagle is I don't necessarily now coaching is a massive part of it, right? But you have to care about what you're doing, right? And like you said right there, like Casey, he said, I just want to wear the jersey, right? I mean, you look at the amount of guys that they have legitimate pride in this burn orange. Like Ethan Mendoza, that dude wearing the Texas on his chest means something to him, right? A Jonah Williams, it means something to him. You look at a Jaden Duplantier. I mean, the Duplantier family, I cut their arms and they're burn orange blood on the ground, right? Like Max Grubb, same thing. And you look at a guy like this. I think that I don't know. I've told everybody this so many times, and I'm going to say it all year long. Getting Kimball Schuessler back as a student coach, like even if he's restricted in some, and he can only be limited to say so many things to players, or be in so many aspects of coaching. Just having his presence in the locker room, uh, after having been a senior leader last year like that, like he's a guy that he might have started out in Aggie, but I mean he believes burnt orange now. I mean, there's
I can tell you when it was announced that he was going to be coaching. I mean, Casey called me right away. The celebration was like getting a All-American transfer in, that was going to help him win. So, yeah, he definitely brings a lot to those guys.
Yeah, I think that the passion for this team, man, it's really it's something that's nice to see, and I think that you're going to see it come through with all these transfers. If they don't already, they're going to kind of embrace that kind of mentality real quickly.
Well, and even some of the freshmen. I mean, Jack Paris, his dad played at Texas. Brody Wall's huge Longhorn family for a long time. Cooper Rummel, he's from Dripping Springs, but his mom went to Texas. I mean, there's a lot of Texas ties, and I've gotten
Livingston.
I've got to know a lot of these guys over the time, and that's one thing that sticks out about a lot of these guys is it's playing for the name on the chest, right? Like it's not just the guy next to you, which is very, very important, but it's also playing for that name, and that matters. So
It honestly is the perfect school with the perfect jersey, considering that they don't have a name on the back of their chest.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. What were you saying, Bora?
No, I was just going to say, you brought up Josh Livingston there. We didn't really talk about him. I mean, what a great addition that is to adding depth to the corners. He can play either one. He can DH. I mean, he hit a ball about, I don't know, but it looked like 110 miles an hour off the bat on Saturday and walked 4 times. I mean, just a guy that has, some versatility defensively, swings it from the left side and has quality at bat. So you got a 5th-year senior that just looks very mature in the plate. Haven't, seen him expand the zone and understands who he is as a player. That's huge. And I think on the same thing on defense, just watching him take ground balls, there's a maturity there that he's not rushed. He's under control in everything he does. So just another huge impact player for this team.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to list the second base depth chart, that thing probably goes nine names long. And he's one of the guys. He's got time over there at second base.
Yeah, well, you could say that about the whole infield, I think.
Yeah, like it's so. And honestly, like Josh Livingston feels like almost one of those keys that unlocks the versatility of this lineup to just almost like another level. Like you mentioned, the DH. I mean, he's also one of these guys that he's going to be a massive factor in this, mature approach at the plate that Zach was talking about earlier, where you have guys that are taking quality at bats. I mean, he may not be up there hitting them, 20 home runs in the year, but he's going to poke them out when he can. And if he's not, he's probably going to be drawing a walk on base.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to track kind of OPS numbers this year because, just from what I've seen, I know we haven't hit any home runs in the 2 games, but I don't think we dropped really in power numbers as far as what you see, but we definitely added some on-base percentage there. So I think it's going to be a large difference just in the offense and with that pitching staff. I mean, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and I think we'd be remiss without talking about Aiden Robbins in this stream. Like that. Man, Ethan Mendoza is definitely up there in the Golden Spikes conversation, but I think for the Texas players, when you think about Golden Spikes, it's got to be Dylan Volantis and Aiden Robbins. Throw in a Carson Tenney in there too, but I mean, like just from what I've seen from Aiden Robbins so far, I mean, like I know this is probably the right thing for Temo Becerra because Temo Becerra is just a legit hit machine. He's just going to hit, right? Maybe not be a lot of extra bases, but he's going to hit and he's going to be really annoying pitchers. Aiden Robbins is just like roll your dice and choose which base you're going to. That dude is he looks. I mean, all the numbers that you've seen, like there's a bunch of different advanced statistics out there, and some of these people that they have their own stats. And Aiden Robbins is top 10 hitter in the NCAA across so many of these statistics, and so far he's looked at every bit of that part that he's going to go out there and be one like, hey, this stuff's also going to hold up in the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, what he showed at the Cape was certainly, legitimate. That really solidified, hey, this wasn't just a Seton Hall product against bad competition. He certainly showed that. I mean, he's been the name that everyone's walked away over the last 2 scrimmages, and I've had scouts that I've talked to and various folks in the industry, and they're like, okay, yeah, this guy, he looks the part. I mean, he's again a guy that just loves to play. He's never been in a weight room. He's never played in front of a big crowd, but he's just a pure baseball player. And he hits to both sides of the field, which I think is so important. He can turn that single into a double. And he's probably the most complete player, in my opinion, on the team. I think he still has a little bit of ways to go in center field in terms of defense. But I'd say he's probably the first pick off the board, from a team aspect outside of maybe Carson Tinney in the draft.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think he hit 3 mirror imaging doubles, if I'm not mistaken, to right field the other day. We're just on a line,
Park right in the corner.
Yeah. Again, maturity as a hitter is the first thing that I can, speak of. And I think with the rest of the team, I haven't seen a lot of chasing, especially with the older guys. You expect it out of the freshmen a little bit, seeing the upper level pitching, but the transfers and the returning guys. I mean, I think just their plate discipline, and I know that the coaching staff and Tulo talk all the time about, swinging at strikes and taking balls is the biggest thing to hitting. And it's been pretty obvious, I think, to watch just in the small sample size that we've had so far, that definitely is going to be the case.
Yeah. And I'm really pumped to see Maddox Munster, be able to learn from a guy like an Aiden Robbins out there in right field and kind of, take his time, because I mean, Monster, he feels like one of these guys that we're going to see a lot of early on in these midweek games to give, just whenever we're trying to, flex this rocks, just test out some of the flexibility of the roster, right? Move around some guys. I imagine he's going to get in there somewhere, but he's definitely going to at least get on the base. From what we've seen so far, this dude, he's going to get on the base path if we ever, need a pinch runner. He feels like one of the first candidates off the board, wouldn't you say, Zach?
Yeah, for sure. I remember talking to Caleb Longley back when he was on staff quite a bit about Maddox, because I was like, this is not the guy that kind of fits the mold for what they traditionally went after. And he's like, look, I think this could be one of the guys that ends up being a steal of the class just because he's got such versatility, right? He can really run. I mean, he's, again, super athletic, as you mentioned. Everyone saw that in Round Rock, his running ability. He's super defensive minded in terms of he can play shortstop, second base. He can play outfield. So he brings that utility, which is with the roster size is vastly important. And he's a guy that, he still has a ways to go hitting, but when he gets on the ball, he can use some power through there. Like, he can power it out. So his development is going to be massively important for the Longhorns, especially in the outfield, where that's probably their thinnest area just in terms of experience, production, everything else. So,
yeah, he definitely saw the versatility. He can play anywhere on the field, I think, and the speed, obviously, is going to play a factor. He had an unbelievable, first day at Dell Diamond there, and was like, wow, who's this kid? And then you find out that he's, can play pretty much anywhere on the field. It's just, another piece to the puzzle, if you will, that can do a lot of different things.
I think
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Nash.
I was gonna say I love on the so when the throw that he was thrown out by like 10 feet on, I love the quick recognition that the ball was in the outfield. Like there was no hesitation whatsoever. He had already moved past I just got thrown out. I had a bad jump or whatever. Like he'd already moved all past that, and he's already on to the next 90 feet. Those are the little things I like seeing a little bit like a young baseball player.
Yeah. When he stole second base, though, also, he immediately looked at, okay, I've got that pitcher timed up. I'm ready to go to third. It wasn't like some guys will steal second and be like, okay, I'm done. I took my chance. I'm here to go. I'm just going to wait and see what happens. He wasn't about that, right? Like he saw and had the guy timed up, and I was like, all right, let's go. And so
there was definitely no fear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, another freshman that we already talked about a little bit is Anthony Pack. I mean, this is a dude that if Jonah Williams decides to play football full time, and that's certainly a real possibility. I mean, Anthony Pack has to be one of the first guys off the board, like, with a chance to go play center field out there. This is a this is a guy that, I mean, no, perfect game. They may not have the perfect rankings, but if you're going off the rankings, this is, I believe, since CJ Hinojosa, he's tied with CJ Hinojosa for the highest rated athletes at, like, what pitcher, anything, to make it to Texas. So this is a, kind of a highly rated prospect that, I mean, in my opinion, I really didn't feel like, from what we were hearing, it didn't feel like we were going to get him on roster. But after the draft day, he's still on the roster at Texas, and man, I'm really happy that we have him, because this outfield that looks. You talked about the thinness of the outfield, man. This outfield would look a lot more thin if we didn't have him post draft.
The thing about Pack is just his coachability. He's got a lot of raw talent, right? He's not perfect at running bases yet. He's not perfect defensively. He's not perfect at the plate. But the progression I've seen just over the last odd weeks at some practice, and again, caught a bunch of scrimmages and all that. He's getting better every day, right? He's never been in the weight room. He's never been a guy that's been part of a program that's really, maximized his talent. And so he's really going through the paces, but he's earning it, right? Like every day, again, he puts a little effort, he gets a little better. And he's certainly a guy that, if he gets 25, 30 at bats this year, I think that's huge for next year, like what he can do from a progression standpoint. So,
yeah, look, I've known Anthony Pack for a while, being a Southern California guy, having coached in the area, and he's a gamer. I can't speak enough about his tools. Like Zach said there, I mean, his tools are off the chart. I think power is something that maybe he's not there yet, but it'll come. He's got some bat speed, but the kid can really run it down in center field. He's got a high baseball IQ, but I think the most impressive thing about him is just, his willingness to do whatever it takes. He'll run through a wall. He goes 110% at all times. He competes, competing, something that I think is missing in a lot of kids nowadays. And he's got that ability to kind of flip that switch to go, okay, I'm going to fight my tail off, whether it's with 2 strikes or battling to get in the lineup, whatever it might be. He's going to give you everything he's got, and he's going to leave it all on the field. And so he's a special player, and definitely if he needs to be inserted into that lineup, I think he's going to add some things. I'm sure there'll be some learning, some growing pains, as we say, with any freshman guy, but he's going to adjust and adapt relatively quick.
Yeah. So a late addition that we kind of had join the roster in the port. Like, I mean, this is like last second, clears the line at the portal. Ashton Larson from LSU. Man, I mean, this is a guy that I think intriguing is the perfect word to describe him, right? Because you got the year one where, man, he's basically like almost Adrian Rodriguez for Texas, right? He is just, freshman surprise, like we said earlier, co-freshman of the year for the SEC. And then he kind of almost gets his spot taken away. Well, not almost, so it does get his spot taken away. Ends up being relegated to a pinch hitting role. But what I was really impressed with was how well he did as a pinch hitter, because, man, being a pinch hitter, that's just one of those roles on a baseball team that it's hard to do mentally, because you don't have a lot of other guys like an Adrian Rodriguez, like, he's going to be able to go out there for 20 at bats. He doesn't get, he's going to be able to struggle for 20 at bats straight. You're a pinch hitter. You don't got 20 at bats, right? You maybe got 5 before, hey, now we're going to start looking at pinch hitting somebody else. So to see him do, as well as he did, still hitting some home runs, still getting some extra base hits, man, I thought that was really impressive for Larson. But looks like he's going to be getting some serious run out there in left field.
Yeah, I mean, he dealt with that injury after his freshman year, and that really set him back, because you're at LSU, right? It's not like they're recruiting just a bunch of randos to come in and play. I mean, they're recruiting some high level players, and it was unfortunate that he got injured, somewhat got recruited over to some extent, and then just coming back and trying to press himself, right? To, I can win this job back. And then you start pressing, and I'm sure Borba can tell you about pressing in baseball. Like, if nothing good's going to happen. And so your point, yeah, Nash, he got relegated to pinch hitting, but he's a guy that, again, loves to compete. He's a guy that I think a lot of people, including myself, had pegged probably to head home, go Kansas State, somewhere in the Midwest where he's got a lot of connections. But he was a guy that very early on, the Texas staff saw him as, this is a guy that could come in and, provide some depth defensively. And, if they're able to get his bat back on track, it's, he's got 300 type, season in him. Absolutely. So.
Yeah. I mean, and that feels like there's a lot of potential 300 numbers all across the roster on this team.
Yeah.
With guys that can leave the yard at almost any moment. It really does feels like a nice combination. And then you got Will Hill behind him, who he feels like a freshman that we could look up in 2 or 3 years and go, okay, yeah, this is a dude. He's got some good size to him.
Yeah, he's a physical looking kid. I've never seen him play, but just in the brief time I saw him the other day, I was like, who's that kid? And found out it was him. He's definitely a specimen, and I hear nothing but good things. So he's dealing with an injury right now, I think, but as soon as he gets ready to go, it's just going to add more depth.
Yeah, who's this football player? And then you got
Calmer, linebacker. But to Borba's part, like, I've seen him play in high school quite a bit, and because he played down at Summer Creek, where obviously Jaden and the rest of them came from, and he's a guy that can defend. I mean, he can run lights out. He's an outstanding defensive player. So once he's healthy, if they ever need a defensive specialist, he's probably that guy, right? He's going to come in the 7th inning, and he's probably not going to give you much at bat wise this season, but he can help run down a ball in the outfield. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, it doesn't really feel like we're going to need. Well, hopefully, it doesn't feel like we're going to need him. If we need him at bat wise, man, throw up the Hail Mary. We've had a bad. It's been a bad year. Sauce probably got a notebook of all the injuries that he can list off at the end of the year, so that he can say, "Hey, I don't need no hot seat." But another guy that really like Ashton Larson came in really late was Callum Early, and you saw his brother actually pick up a start as a rookie for the Red Sox, and unfortunately, a game that they lost, last game of the never want your final loss to be the last game of the year. That always sucks. But I mean, Callum Early obviously wasn't part of that, but he looks like he's probably, would you say, slotted into be the next man up if Ethan Mendoza were to go down?
Once he's healthy. Yeah, he's still dealing with a shoulder injury. That was really what
when healthy
last year. Yeah. He's not a power guy. He's a pure contact guy, but he was doing well at the plate, and then again he hurt that shoulder, and he just hasn't really been able to get back on track quite yet. But they're working him back slowly, and yeah, I mean, once he's healthy, he's definitely a guy that could play second base behind Mendoza for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely a fun guy to watch from Liberty. His numbers are really they're nice. It was a nice little last second addition, across the finish line.
Yeah,
but
I think we didn't mention Gumbo either, really, but there's another guy that adds some versatility. I mean, he was taking infield, outfield before the game on Saturday in center field. He showed the ability to go out to left last year. Played out there Saturday, if I'm not or Friday night.
Yep.
If I'm not, so that's just another guy that could go anywhere on the field, and it just speaks to the volume Nolan Kane and Schloss and the staff putting into just having such a dynamic team, especially with the smaller rosters, to be able to do a lot of different things. And yeah, like you said, we hope some of these young guys aren't forced into at bats, but we hope they're good enough to compete for at bats and push each other, because that ultimately, at some point, some of those guys that maybe we're not expecting to be a big part are going to have to play a big part, because the odds of having 9 guys healthy, for 60 games or whatever we're talking about, it's not going to happen. So it's nice to see those guys getting some at bats and getting some time early, and really trying to figure out what we have there.
Oh, and yeah, you speak about Gumbo. I mean, he had I don't have I forget, because I had the numbers in the off season. maybe Zach can confirm this. He has to be up there, and the guy that's not started, but played at the most positions. And last year's team. I mean, he got time at left field, third base. Sure, he got there in second base, shortstop. He's played in center field. He's moved around. He's like that song. I've been everywhere, man. He's like a traveling guy out there. But and he is truly like. There's a reason why I have him first utility on there, because he's in the sense of the word utility, like you mentioned earlier. Max Grubb's name next to consistency and all those things. You got utility. Jaden Plantier is sitting right there with a big old smile, man.
And he looks physically another guy that put in a lot of work over the summer. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, he looks like a different level of guy. This year.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, I just want to get us on here, talk a little bit about Texas baseball. It's been a while. This was a fun, nice little dose of Texas baseball to get us through. And Zach, do you know if they're doing an orange and white game? Because I saw you said we won't see it until February, but are they doing one?
That's the plan. Yeah. Okay. They haven't scheduled it yet, but that is the plan.
Okay. So we won't get any baseball until the orange and white game, right? We'll get just a little bit of a pick me up right before we get to the college baseball season. But yeah, man, this is looking like a really fun group to follow as a Texas baseball fan. Max Weiner, I mean, it's just like you want to talk about like a guy that came in year one and he transformed a Texas A&M pitching staff that was, below average at best, turns them into a top 10 pitching staff in the nation, comes to Texas, does the exact same thing. I mean, man, it's really exciting to see what he's going to do in his second year at a school and not just a first year. And just the thought of this pitching staff taking another step forward potentially is like, one, it's like, I mean, how much better can you get than last year, right? Than the numbers that we saw last year. I mean, obviously the strikeout numbers can improve, right? And Max Weiner might sit me down for 30 minutes and tell me a bunch of things that they can get better in. But I mean, like, it's just the thought of them getting better. That's some really fun stuff. And that I always like to say that pitching wins games. Pitching, I'd rather take pitching over hitting. And to me, I mean, this is the staff that is going to at the very least give us a great shot to wind up in Omaha. You add in, this is the versatility of this lineup. If there's a guy that isn't cutting it out of position defensively, man, there's probably 2 or 3 other dudes that can fit it, that can cut it, and this staff will figure out the way to get them there. And it like you mentioned the bunts earlier, like this is it feels like we're going to a fun brand of baseball to watch, where you're watching. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of action that gets put down, right? There's a lot of hit and runs. It's just a lot of moving the bases, right? And this may not be some 128, home run guy Ivan Melendez on the team launching nukes with the wind blowing 20 miles an hour out to all center field, left field, and right field. But I mean, this is a team that they're going to poke the ball out of the yard every now and then. But I mean, for the most part, they're going to keep it in the ballpark. But I mean, in my opinion, this is one of these teams that if I'm a pitcher, I hate, right? Like they're that team that's just annoying, right? They don't ever, because home runs you can accept. You can wipe a home run off your, if you're a good pitcher, you can get rid of that out of your head real quickly. Seeing guys on base and then constantly moving, that'll really that can get to a pitcher quickly on the mound, and that's where the mound can really start to feel like a lonely place out there.
Yeah, and you talk about the pitching staff. How do they get better? Honestly, I think they already are better. The talent level went from here to up here, right? You bring in a guy like Sam Cozart, who is described as about as pure plug and play of an SEC strike thrower as you can get. His older brothers have played at UNC and NC State, and his dad's been a longtime coach, right? Like he comes from a family of baseball players, and he's just a bulldog of a competitor, and he can run it up there. And he really hasn't even flashed the kind of arm velo that he's done, past the high school where he threw a perfect game, but he's massive competitor. He does look like he's 38, by the way, on the mound. So everyone's gonna be like, "That's a freshman? Come on."
Well, it's a size 19 shoe. I was wondering why he was wearing red spikes the other day.
Yeah, Nike can't find a shoe for him yet.
Right.
That's why it is.
He's wearing special shoes because he wears size 19, and the biggest they go up to is like 17 or 18. So they've been trying to find a shoe for him.
Apologies to Cozart, because I was sitting up there with Borba, and I'm like, man, hey, my coach in high school, he wouldn't have let me on the field if I was wearing different color cleats. But you know what? That is a special case that would be certainly permitted. They might have look. We might have to hit up some of those little custom shoe artists where they just paint the shoes.
Yeah.
they get them looking the right way. But yeah, I mean, any last thoughts on this roster, because this is a really fun. I've had a blast here talking about this, and I don't want to keep y'all too long, but I mean, yeah, this pitching staff. Looking up and down these freshman names, like Cozart was a draft day steal. Michael Winter, I mean that was like came in off top ropes out of nowhere. We got him, man.
Strikeouts against 6 walks his senior year. Just ridiculous talent from Winter as a strike thrower.
He pitched at the end of the game on Friday, right? He was the one that was he an Ivy League commit?
He was a Dartmouth commit, and then the coach announced he was leaving. But the Texas staff had already, I think, been, looking at, hey, who is this guy? All the Midwest scouts were like, y'all, this is a guy that doesn't come along, right? Like, he is a pure strike thrower. And there's a lot of hope that he's the next kind of rotation guy on the weekend. And then Brett Crossland, I mean, I'm sure, Borbs, you've seen a lot of him, especially out west, Team USA. He's been a big name since his sophomore, freshman year, hard thrower. I think his senior year, he kind of realized the ability to pitch more so than anything else, because he was running up to 98, 99, but he was starting to lose command and go all over the place. His senior year, he dialed it back and he was throwing 94, 95. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, I can throw a strike again. And the way he was described to me was like, he's never had a private pitching coach. He's never been one of those guys that's been super coached up. And so he's kind of self-made, if you will. And I don't know if you've seen his physique, but the dude is not someone you want to mess with. He's a solid 6'4", like 230.
I think I was with Eric in the stands, and I was saying, hey, I mean, look, if I'm drafting a bar fight roster, that's draft pick number 1 right there, dude. He is I was doing that. I don't know if y'all ever remember Ozzie Guillen, manager. He used to have a big guy. He used to have a big guy that this is how he motioned out to the outfield for him. He said, I want the big one. And that's what you got in Cry. And then honestly, Rummel too. He's not that far behind him. He's a big boy himself. That there are like these are the type of pitchers, man, that you also kind of like throw on the mound. Just like, hey, I'm just gonna screw with the batter down there, right? Like, these are physically intimidating dudes that also have a really high release point. So,
and then Jack McKernan, he was a longtime Team USA guy, and the biggest thing I was told, the first thing that someone told me from him about him was, it's not always about the pitchability, which he can run it up to 93. He can run it up there, but it's the mentality on the mound. They're like, Max Grubbs is a competitor on the mound. He wants the ball. He wants to go attack. Same thing with Ruger. And they're like, that's what you get from McKernan. You don't want to face him because he's going to come right after you, and he's just going to attack downhill. So,
yeah, I've crossed paths with Jack. I had him at 14U USA, and you can put him in any situation. He's not going to be phased. He's going to go compete his tail off. He's pitched in high leverage situations before. Oh, yeah. And he was up to 94, I think, on Friday night, and
that's the highest he's been. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hate to give lofty expectations, but he could be a Dylan Volantis type left-handed freshman this year that could fill a huge role for us out of that pen. I mean, I was sitting next to a couple of the other dads on Friday night at the game against Lamar, and every time we brought out a new pitcher that we hadn't seen, we looked at each other and somebody would say, we didn't have that last year. So, I'm fired up about it. I know that the players and the staff are too, but it's going to be a fun pitching staff to watch all year long.
I think the other guy, he may not be year one, a guy that makes a ton of noise like Cozart or McKernan or Crossland or Winter even, but Brody Walls brings just super athletic ability to the mound. That's a dude that could go play both ways, right? Like, he's grew up being a shortstop primarily, And when you talk about Brody with Max, he just gets excited because he loves the athleticism. And it's not that the other guys aren't athletic, but he's like, this dude just brings an energy to the mound, and you can see it. And he's impressed me. I kind of worried about what it would look like early on with him, just being a pitcher only and focusing. He's shown some flashes so far, so it's exciting.
I want to be at a PFP practice with him. I feel like he's out there showing off.
You can't say PFP on this. Max Wiener won't like
that.
Yeah,
he won't like that. Yeah,
AFP, athletes fielding practice.
AFP. My apologies, Max. My apologies. Yeah, no, I mean, and like you mentioned, Jack McKernan, he just feels like a bulldog on the mound with his approach out there. Like he's just like, he does have that, like, hey, please charge me, please charge me. Look on his face, like he looks like pissed. He looks pissed off out there, and like that. That's one of those things I love to see out of pitcher, right? But one thing that I thought was and I'm really interested to see what this year was Cade Bing, man. He's a guy that he had a lot of ups and downs last year, but man, his ups look good, right? Like when he was pitching, he looked good, and I think that was one of those things where, hey, like it was Max Wiener, like, hey, we don't want you to get too up or too down, right? We want you to stay level headed, because when you're level headed, that's where we get the most out of you, and that's where we need you, right? And that's a guy that I think that his name kind of gets overlooked, right? It gets like lost in the shuffle with a lot of these, young, intriguing freshman names, right? Like you mentioned, like even like a Jason Flores, right? Like his name just doesn't have all that flash that all these other guys do. But man, this is a guy that he's got the experience in that not just midweek role, but he's got the experience as a starter. And when he's looked good, he's looked really, really good. So that's another guy that I'm really intrigued to see, coming back next week and next year, because like last year, he started off in the Sunday role. Like he started off as a weekend guy. So it'll be really interesting to see where he goes moving forward, because this is certainly a pitcher that, I mean, if he's on, he takes his bullpen to a whole nother level.
Yeah, I think there's like 5 guys in that category that are experienced kind of arms that can do a lot of different things. When you mix in McCreary when he gets healthy, and Hudson Hamilton, Cody Walker,
forgot about McCreary.
Cody Howard, excuse me, and then Ewok. I mean, those 5 guys right there are going to play some role, and whether they push to be starters or I don't. It's a nice luxury to have. Like I said earlier, just there's a lot of arms, so it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. And what roles they kind of fit into. But the nice thing is, I don't think we're going to have to fall into a position like last year where I think 6 guys had 85% of our innings. And, you're going to be able to see a lot of guys, and whether Max and Schloss want to, give young guys the experience on the Tuesday game. It's not like, we have to bring guys back and push, especially early in the year. It felt like last year, at least to me in the stands, that a lot of our guys early in the year had to pitch more than you would like for whatever reason, and at the end of the year, not that they were tired. I think they pitched pretty well, but that's a long season to pitch through, and having the depth that we do this year, hopefully is going to allow those guys to be even more fresh and go deeper into games. So then you can give a variety of looks and use different guys. You don't have to extend them. If you have to use Max Scrubs for 3 innings on Friday night, you don't have to try to bring him back on Sunday, because you have somebody else you can trust in there.
Well, I think that's the looks, right? Like Volantis and LeFew, they're coming up 6'9", 6'7", way up top, and then all of a sudden you get a guy like Cade Bing, and he's bulked up a little bit. He looks much more comfortable throwing 91 in inner squads and bullpens. Like he looks comfortable doing that. He's not max effort, but he comes at a different slot. And then you got a guy like Ruger Riojas, who's throwing all kinds of randomness at you. I mean, a 53-mile-an-hour ephus that just for fun.
And then dropping down and throwing sidearm. Yeah.
Yeah. And then up and down. And then Cody Howard, he's lowered his arm slot. So he's a little more almost sidearm now. And so, the number of looks that Max is able to throw out there, to your point, like you could do a guy an inning and still feel comfortable that they're not going to get timed up and they're not going to get brushed up. So,
I mean, And you mentioned the experience, like just the starting experience with like a guy like even like a Connor McCreary, right? Like this is a lineup that like let's just say everything remains the same and Dylan Volantis doesn't start. I mean, if we wind up in going late in a regional or something like that, or just deep in the super regional, or even find ourselves in Omaha having to work our way out of the loser bracket. I mean, you got Luke Harrison, Ruger Riojas, Cade Bing, LeFew. Grubbs has starting experience. Burns has starting experience. Howard has starting experience. Flores has starting experience. McCreary, right? Hamilton gave us one start this last year, and then you got a bunch of other intriguing guys. I mean, like this is a roster that, man, I mean, we got a lot of guys that they have the previous experience of starting, and then not only that, even if we have just our 3 weekend guys, we're going to have a handful of guys that, hey, these are legit dudes that they can start, right? They just don't happen to be a hair better than like these other guys are.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about the construction of the roster and whatnot, but I think the other thing we really haven't hit on is this is year 2 with Schloss, right? Like year 1 is still that feeling out period, if you will, and you're trying to get acclimated and understand how it's all going to work, and there's all kinds of different emotions that go into everything, and now you kind of have expectations set, both on both ends for the coaches and the players. I mean, as coaches coming in, they're trying to lay their foundation in year 1. Year 2 now you got a steady group of guys that played for you last year that can kind of understand how things are done, why things are done, and how to handle adversity and the things that they're going to face in the upcoming season. That kind of team maturity, if you will, it has to, even though you lose guys like Jalen Flores, and Rylan Galvan and Kimball, like those are veteran guys that have been in the system and know Texas. Now you're talking about veteran guys that have been with Schloss, for a year, because last year, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Kimball was the only one that really had any exposure to Schloss prior to the season, having been at A&M with him for that short time. Now you have a group of guys that have been with this coaching staff, and retaining, Nolan and Tulo and Max was tremendous for all of us, I think, because just the stability that it's going to provide for that team is going to, I think that speaks volume, and that's another piece to the puzzle that's going to really help just the overall performance of this team.
And how far has Kimball come, man? getting cut by Schloss, hit a home run, stare him down at third base on the way home.
Yeah,
and then find out he's coming to your school later again. And you're like, okay, now we got to have a little conversation in the meeting room. But I mean, now I'm a coach on his roster. I mean, he's had quite the little.
Yeah,
they've had quite the relationship, haven't they?
No question.
Talk about a tango, but all right. Well, I'm not going to keep y'all here any longer. I really appreciate y'all for joining in, and like I said, I love talking Texas baseball. This is so fun to me. I mean, this is I like Texas football, but Texas baseball is just I think the thing that separates it a lot is the family atmosphere that we got, and a lot of that comes from our guy occupy left field, Mark. He wasn't able to be here today, but I mean it's just like the ability to know so many players' parents. Like I talk with Cade Bing and Borba and Mendoza regularly. I mean, like there's a different level of once you also know the dudes that are playing out there on the baseball field compared to like football, where you don't get to know their lives or anything like that. It's really fun to have a family atmosphere, and it's awesome that you parents are out there participating in it, and actually like it just does feel like one big family. Like we're over there having beers in section 117 in the Round Rock Express, and it's like, okay, well, there's Grayson Saunier. Oh, well, there's Donovan Campbell, right? And every year, just the family gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And one way that if there's any viewers that want to help out with that, I mean, one way that you can do that is you can go to Texas One Fund, and you can donate, and then you can also specify, hey, I want my donations to go to Texas baseball. If you want to support Texas baseball, that's one of the best ways to do it. But If there's anything else that y'all want to say, I'll let y'all get it off before we sign off here. But I've had a blast, man.
Yeah, sorry you had to dig so deep when Mark couldn't be on here and you had to pull me on, but I appreciate the time.
Oh no, you're on no matter what, man.
And I can honestly say, you know, as a family, as someone coming from California that really didn't know as much about Texas other than what you know read and see and whatnot, having, you know, going into my third year, what you're speaking to with family and whatnot, it's a pretty special environment, and you know, the fact that my son has been able to wear that uniform for 3 years now is pretty special. And then the way you guys have all just accepted our family and whatnot, it's why people want to be there. You know, it's more than just what happens on the field. And so thank you for having me on the show, but more importantly, thank you for welcoming my family into the Texas baseball family.
And then anything from the best. I look, hey, I probably shouldn't be saying this as an inside Texas guy, but look, this is if you want the best baseball coverage to find, Zach at the Dish, his Twitter is the best for Texas baseball, bar none. I mean, I don't care who you are. I think there's no other way to say it than when you look at it and seeing all the top Twitter accounts in baseball retweeting and stuff, like Kendall Rogers, they lean heavily on Zach at the Dish, and I mean, he's been a real big friend to me in this space, and you know, helping me out, and I really appreciate you. But I mean, hey, you're the guy that we all look up to.
Yeah, I think it should be mandatory that he posts, you know, like every day, just because I always look forward to seeing the Texas baseball.
Bro, I need news. I need news. It's my drug. It's my drug, man.
It is.
Yeah, you know, I think, Eric, what you said was applicable, right? Like, there's already a really big group of fans that make it feel like family around Texas baseball. I mean, I grew up around Texas baseball just in general, being from Austin, living downtown in that area. But certainly, like, the families that come through just make it extra special. I mean, I still talk to Mama Faltini all the time, right? I still talk to Donovan Campbell all the time. Like, all these guys that I meet and women that I meet, like, all the families are great. And even getting to know some of the recruits' parents coming in, like, I'll go message me before games. Hey, are you here? Yeah, I'd love to come say hi. Like, it's just, you can't find better people, right? Like, better kids, better people. That is Texas baseball at its heart. So
I forget the dude's last name, but first name is Cooper. It was a pitcher. He was one of these freshmen that was like outside chance to make it in, and it was cool. Like I got to talk to his dad, and his dad was, you know, talking to me like, "Hey, man, I like talk to me about all my football stuff that I do for the Texas Clips." But like it was cool. Like he himself, he was like, you know, he's not gonna make the roster, right? He's not gonna make the fall roster. We're gonna have to go to like San Jack or something like that. But we're happy to be here, right? And we're enjoying the time that we're here, you know. And I think that kind of goes along a lot along with what you just said right there. I mean, it's not so much also just having the right players; it's having the right families molding the players that are coming to the University of Texas. I mean,
yeah,
like you look at a guy like Ruger Riojas, he has an outstanding family. And I think that's one thing that you see that's a real big thing, and that's in common with a lot of these guys is a lot of these guys, they have their father or their mother is involved with baseball in some level degree, whether like, you know, coaching. Like these are people that they live and breathe this sport, right? Like the Duplantiers, that is a baseball family. The Jonah Williams, who may be known as a football recruit, but that is a baseball family. He's got brothers and cousins that live and breathe baseball. So it's really fun to see this. Really fun to see the roster grow, and really happy to see all the new family members that we got on this team because that really does feel like what it is. But all right, everybody, hope you all have a great day, and we're gearing up for a nice run at potentially Omaha. We'll see, but hopefully no more University of Omaha in the cleats. No more no more of that crap. But all right, everybody, we'll see y'all in February.
Sounds good. Thanks, man.